Good conversation.
Have a lovely show.
Thank you. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today is Monday, April the 5th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. And we'll give Michael just a moment to get dialed in, and I'll go ahead and turn on area code 813. You're on the air. Who do we have? Area code 813. Hello? Well, maybe they'll check back in. So while we're waiting on Michael, I'll direct you to our website. Oh, well, Michael just popped in. Welcome. Not hearing you if your microphone is maybe still muted.
Excuse me, mute challenge.
There you are.
Mute challenge, but I'm here. And welcome, everybody. Honored, delighted that you're here. As we move forward once again and keep advancing in the understanding of this amazing and powerful tool called forgiveness. Feeling very blessed that one, that we have this technology, and two, that we get to share it with you. And sharing it, we get to move to deeper and deeper and deeper levels of comprehending exactly what this process of living a human life really means. And the core of living a human life means that we recognize that we are quite literally, as Dr. Tim always says, everything else is false, made of the energy called love. And if we've forgotten that, if we've fallen asleep, then there's a whole series of tools that we're here to present and to support understanding so that people can rediscover the truth of living as a human being and truly bringing forward the experience and bringing forward from the experience of being love, a world that literally runs on that energy. We have been reading from Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And we are on chapter 9, I believe it is. Are we on 9? Yeah, Blockage of Truth. So anyone who's following along with us, we're in the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And we're heading to page 52. If you don't have a copy of the book, you are certainly welcome to go to our website and download a free copy. Or, and because the book is out of print, we fortunately, back in the early part of the century, it's kind of strange to say that, but we spread multiple tens of thousands of copies around the globe. And so you can usually pretty much find a used copy of the book on Amazon or on eBay pretty cheaply and follow along with us. And not even necessary to buy it. Just go to the website and you'll find it there in, 8 or 9 different languages. And we'd be delighted to have you read along with us. I'm realizing after, of course, having written the book a couple of decades plus ago and rereading it for the first time in a long time, realizing just how profoundly impactful the material in the book is. It's so instructive as to how we function as human beings. We've been talking about the idea of blame up to this point, and that the natural result of living in a lie is that our minds do not have the capacity to show us or to hold the truth, and therefore by calling our lies the truth, by the willingness to believe that, that you're the problem in my life, the only reason I'm in pain is because of what you did, Interesting thesis. I've got an energy moving inside of me because of something you did. Well, actually, that's kind of true. I may well have an energy moving in me because of what you did on the surface. Yes, you did something that resonated that energy, but that energy had to be in me in order to move. And so to say you made me mad, you made me sad, you made me afraid is one of the biggest lies in the creation. So we're on the top of page 52 and conversation with a character named Richard. Since most people blame others for what happens to them, they quote unquote forgive by letting other persons off the hook. And of course, we've got a big pair of quotes. Well, they're regular sized quotes, but they could be a big pair of quotes around the word forgive, because it's another lie of the culture to think that forgiveness is about how I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. If I don't like what's happening inside of me, there is a tool that was delivered in the first century by a man named Yeshua 2,000 years ago, and it was delivered in the Aramaic language. And it was a tool for removing things like hostility, fear, rage, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma from the human system. It was not a tool, as the Greeks have told us, for letting other people off the hook, because that's happening inside of us. The natural result of believing that forgiveness is about letting somebody else off the hook, or pardon me, the natural result of blockage of truth is believing that forgiveness is letting somebody else off the hook. But it's not at all. And so Richard, the character that I'm talking with in the book, says, what if I need to be forgiven for something I've done? We've been taught an error about forgiveness, Richard. The act you're asking about is called pardoning. If you feel you have made an error and wish to be excused for your error, you have need of pardon, not forgiveness. Until we learn the true meaning of forgiveness, we substitute pardoning and think that forgiveness has occurred. The act of pardoning does nothing to change the internal reality structure of the person doing the pardoning. It leaves the painful internal reality in the mind, leaves it in place, ready to be triggered again. And so someone who never learns to go in and remove the root of their pain, because we are energetic beings, and when pain is moving at us, because motion creates energy fields, we are literally setting up energy fields inviting someone to come in and do it to us again. So this act of pardoning does not change what's happening inside of us. So that painful internal reality is there, ready to be triggered again. It also means that the person who is pardoning, we usually try to control those he or she pardons so they will not trigger their pain again. When people, quote unquote, forgive each other using the misunderstood form of forgiveness, they let each other off the hook. Then each mind still has its invisible blockages and painful realities. The only way that what has been blocked in the mind becomes visible is as pain and upset projecting that mind's image of others. And so that's kind of the core of the understanding we want to come to. And once that's understood, then it becomes natural to move to the next level of recognizing that forgiveness is a tool for literally deleting, for removing any kind of painful reality, any kind of energy at the root of my pain that my mind can generate, and therefore becoming free of that pain. One of the things to understand about this game of blocks of truth is that when I do block the truth out and someone comes along that triggers my pain, I will literally create a perceptual construct of them that is built out of my pain. And I will swear that my thesis that they're the cause of my pain must be true, because my mind literally shows me a picture that looks like an outward snapshot, but is really just an outpicturing of my internal process. And so the technology of forgiveness is the core of this work. And I've spent many decades, well, a little better than 4 now, developing an understanding of this tool and delivering it to the world. If you have not accessed the tool as yet, you can go to our website, whyagain.org. And in the upper left-hand corner of the page, you'll see the words, Start Here. If you click that Start Here link, it will begin to walk you through a whole tutorial on the forgiveness process, right up to including audios and videos of exactly how the process works, a worksheet process which you can do right there on the phone, and or you can print the worksheets off. There are a variety of worksheets we've developed specifically for forgiveness. There are other worksheets as well, but a variety of different worksheets specifically focused on the forgiveness process. You can download them and print them. And of course, as you engage with them, if questions come up, the reason we're here 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, and thank you, Dr. Tim, for taking that first hour on and making it available to people and creating such an awesome support. And then the second hour is so that if you have questions, if you have things that don't make sense, or you need support in using the process, we're here to answer those questions and to support you. There's also one other mechanism through which you can access the forgiveness process, and that is you can go to your app store on your phone, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android, and simply type in the words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. When you do that, you'll be looking at the world's first forgiveness app. Download the app, 2 different versions of the worksheet in it. It's a very private app that only asks for one permission, and that's to use the internet in order for you to use it. And you're doing forgiveness right there on your phone. And or you've got a child's game called the Dragon Klingon game, with which you can support kids learning forgiveness. So there are lots of ways to access the technology, and we're here to give as much support as we possibly can. And we're here to give it away free. Everything we know about the process is there on the website in some way, shape, or form. And you're most welcome to access it as freely as possible. If you do access it, or through this show you find support, of course, we would be delighted if you'd consider supporting us. You'll notice as we do this workshop, this radio show, that there are no ads on Dr. Tim's section or my own. We pay to do this show. We don't get paid to do it. And of course, when we complete the show, very shortly afterward, I'm not even sure exactly within how many minutes, you can go to our website. Just go to whyagain, whyagain.org, and if you look down the page, you'll see a microphone. Click on that microphone, drill down to the date, and you can download an MP3. In fact, you can download any one of probably, I'm not even sure how many are there now, well over 3,000 MP3s from the last 10 years of doing this show 5 days a week. So we're going to do and continue to do everything we can to support you. If it's appropriate for you to support us in return, that would be awesome. You can go to our website, and there's a donate button there, and you're welcome to do that. We'd be honored and delighted to receive any support you have to give. In the meantime, Miss Jeannie, we've got about 50 minutes left, so do we have anything happening in the chat room or anybody in the phone queue with a hand up?
No, but I did get, and I'm just looking for it, I got an email the other day with a question from a young lady in Kenya, and I printed it off so I could read it today.
Awesome.
Find it. Hold on. Give me just a minute. But nobody has a hand
maybe,
up.
Sweetie, and maybe we can read it in sections and just comment piece by piece as we go through it. I know you shared a little bit of that with me the other day. And
okay.
So I'd be fabulous to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Maybe you can.
So she says, huh?
Go ahead.
She says, hi, Jeannie. I hope that you and Michael are doing great. I don't know if you remember my email below from last May, and she had emailed us and we addressed it on the radio show, where I shared anxiety about the Revelation prophecy and the possible end game, a world that will require us to jump some hoops before we can do business and send our kids back to school or rejoin society. Michael gave me some very good insights on how prophecy is a warning of what is in the pipeline, a call to deliberately change our energies in order to avert it. I tried this, and it helped me a lot in terms of my peace, and external things also seem to be going better. Okay, baby.
Sounds like Aria has a question for you.
She wanted me to open a box.
Sweet voice.
It helped me a lot in terms of my peace, and external things also seem to go back to normal here with COVID numbers declining, businesses and schools reopening. Then the vaccine landed on our shores, and immediately after that, the numbers started rising again, and now my country is in lockdown. I can cope with this as I did before, but what is giving me the chills is the news about the vaccine passport. Started in Israel, has arrived in New York, is being discussed in Europe, and who knows where else. It's being hailed as the way that people can safely return to normal again.
Yeah, so let's reinforce one of the basic principles of this work, and that is our definition of the word denial. And the word deny, in the context of this work, is a word that describes the act of thinking or speaking as though something outside of me is a cause of something that's moving inside of me. When I live out of this denial thought form or language, what happens is, in order to literally build an image of a world that conforms to my belief that something outside of me is the problem, I have to generate a false picture of the world. And so, in the ancient Aramaic, they talked about that false picture as being appearance. And so I have to I get to create an image, an appearance of things being the way I believe they are in my denial. So when I say there is, whatever the word was used to describe the upset, when I say the upset is caused by this vaccine passport or what's happening with COVID, I just entered into a state where I said to my mind, I think the word was chills. Mind, I have chills inside of me, whatever that means, but I'm not interested in anything that would show me that those chills, disturbances belong to me. So I want you to build me a world of appearances that tell me that the reason my structure is going through this quote-unquote chill energy is because of what's happening out there. And my mind will build me that picture. My invitation would be that this is the first place I would invite you to start breaking down the lies your mind tells you. If you have chills, and, I presume that word chill means fear, trepidation, disturbance, upset, whatever exactly it means for you. But the first place to start to break it down is to let go of the denial. You're not experiencing whatever that energy is because of what's happening in the world. You're experiencing whatever that energy is because that's what's structured in your mind. And when you realize that, that's the first place to start to apply forgiveness. Now, I certainly can see, and I think it's another one of those black psyops political footballs that can make anything out of anything. And, of course, there are all these dire predictions about what this means, what that means, and on and on and on goes the list. But those predictions aren't the cause of my quote-unquote chilled mind. Those predictions are a trigger for the opportunity for me to forgive that part of my mind that holds that fear, sadness, grief, whatever it happens to be. So that would be the first place I would offer to begin the forgiveness process, to recognize that you can experience what's going on with COVID, schools, governments, closings, passports, no passports. You can experience that world free of what you describe as chills by forgiving as to those chills, again, whatever that means to you, and to put an end to projecting that the root of that energetic pattern into your mind's perception. And as you do, then you will stand with a mind more connected to love, more connected to peace. And a mind connected to love is the most intelligent mind you can possibly have. So you'll have a more constructive, intelligent, and capable approach and ability to handle whatever you need to handle in whatever the circumstance is, school or home or passports or not. If you remain connected to love, if the scuttlebutt, if the conversations, and there are lots of fear-based conversations around this whole passport thing, and I'm not saying there isn't justification for it, this could lead to some problems. What I am saying is, if I appear to be in fear about it, I'm in denial, and it's another opportunity for me to learn to forgive my fear. So I'd be starting to do worksheets right there, right off the bat would be my starting point. And beyond that, Jeannie, let's hear the rest of what she has to say.
Well, I think you've already addressed it, but she goes on to say, it's frightening to think of a world where it looks like those who prefer not to get a vaccine and focus instead on naturally building their immunity against the virus will be classified as a threat to society and shut out of theaters, restaurants, and gyms. I am also stunned that, and so she's talked about something else frightening her, and now she's talking about something else stunning her.
Right.
I'm also stunned that some people in my circle see no issue with the passport and even embrace it, thinking it's so cool. I can't help wondering what comes next. Will schools in certain residential areas, will the unvaccinated become paras and lepers? How do I raise my little girl in such a world? And she says, I've done a worksheet. Oh, go ahead and address that first.
Well, my offering would be that what I would suggest as the possibility is that as you heal your fear, you can refrain from transferring or resonating that fear in your daughter, and you can raise her as a being that stays connected to her true essence as active present love and has a genius mind, the mind that is your and her birthright active in her, that will always know the best path of activity for whatever's happening in the world. So that would be where I would go with that one, is to recognize who you are as love, primary objective of being a parent, and to continuously identify her as the presence of love so that she gets to literally incarnate in her physiology totally and completely connected to the presence of love rather than to the fears of the world or the fears of her generations or your generations. Now, when you say I've done a worksheet, that was the first line the last line Jeannie got into there. It's like, if this is as big an issue as you're implying it is, and it sounds like it's a pretty big issue to you, I'd be suggesting that you be moving in the direction of dozens and dozens and perhaps hundreds of worksheets. I mean, this is really touching a deep place for you and in you, it sounds like, of fear and trepidation. And I would, for one, support you being the person who lives totally and completely free of fear and trepidation of any kind, to get to the point where your mind, no matter what people are doing in the world, your mind is incapable of producing a fear-based reality. That would be my offering as the first order of business. Then, with a clear mind and a state of being connected to love, you'll be able to assess what's going on in the world with the most intelligent mind possible. You know, in the ancient scriptures, they talked about that mind of Christ in us. The mind of Christ is the mind of love. It's our birthright to live with the same mind that this man they called Christ lived with. And that was quite literally thinking out of the mind of love, or the mind of the Creator. And when you approach the world from that mind of love, everything you look at is going to change. Everything, literally. Because as you stand in the space as the space of conscious, active, present love, you will be one person who resonates that presence of love everywhere that you look, in every interaction that you have with every person that you meet. And as you do, you will become a space that inspires and resonates love everywhere you go. Your life's going to change when you do that. And that would be the practical application of the tools. Go ahead, Jean.
So she says, I've done a worksheet, and so far the commitment that I came up with was to seek first God's kingdom, and all these things will be added unto me. I believe that means an alternative reality that has freedom, joy, prosperity beyond measure, and that's what I want for myself and my loved ones, and indeed all of humanity. Any ideas or advice on how I can do this in a world that is looking very scary would be welcome.
Cool. Well, I hear loud and clear to your heart that the world is at a stage where it's bringing up your deepest levels of fear. And it's interesting how the world has been created, because if you are destroying your mind, your physiology with fear, then the world is meant to show you the deepest roots of that fear. And in so doing, you have the opportunity to forgive those energetic patterns. So it sounds like you're ready to do a whole new level of your work, and we're here to support you in doing that with any questions and answers that come up as we move forward. I might suggest that you download the app, and we did some interaction last year, and you spoke about the shifts that you got. It might be time to do a new level, rather than kind of hanging out on your own and using the tools. It might be time to do a new level of your work. And we're actually just getting ready to release a new version of the Codependence to Interdependence Communication Practicum Intensive. It was a 14-week intensive that we did. Well, we actually started doing it about 6 months ago. Went through 14 weeks, and we created 50-some hours of video. And we're now in the process of doing the second round of that intensive, where we're creating another 28 or so hours of video. And so we're going to release that as an independent intensive. It includes the personal code evaluation, one that you take at the beginning of the intensive and one that you take after. And the personal code evaluation gives you insight as to where the weaknesses are in your mind and perceptual system and your life, and some specific tools for healing those aspects of self. At the end of the intensive, you get to do the evaluation again, and there's a 2-hour video that explains that evaluation, how to use it. And then in between, I think Jenny had totaled up what we have, and I believe the intensive will include about 83 hours of live video for self-study. And the cost of the intensive, including everything, and of course we have the radio show here 5 days a week for ongoing support, the cost for that whole intensive is going to be $600. And the next time that we initiate another live intensive, we'll actually add approximately another 28 hours of video live, and you'll be able to upgrade to that live intensive. And the live intensive, including all of the video work, plus the ongoing support over the 14 weeks is $1,200. And so you can do the initial video or course on your own now and do it at your own pace and give us, either call in or send us questions as you've done here. And then the next time that we do that video live, you can upgrade to that and just pay the difference between the live program, and that will include, as I said, the 83 hours that Jeannie had calculated we have, plus an additional approximately 28 hours of live video that we'll do in the next round of the intensive. So it might be time to take yourself into the next level of doing your work and start to work with that. And once you register, the video links are yours permanently. You can review the workshop as often as you like, and they're there for you to use. And of course, the radio show's here to support you. And if you decide, let's say 6 months from now, we decide to do that 14-week intensive again live, then you'll have access, if you choose to upgrade, to the 2 hours per week for 14 weeks of live interaction, question and answers, and process work. And once you've upgraded to that workshop status, if you do, then at any point in the future, when we do the intensive again, you will not only have access, at that point, it'll go from 83 to about 110 hours of video that you can use continuously. And all future intensives you'll be a guest in, so that there's live, ongoing support. We're, calling it a rolling intensive that you'll be welcome to be in forever when we do that particular intensive. So it might be time to take your work to the next level by jumping in and making a purchase of that 83 hours of video work, the worksheets, all the materials are there. We have a food program which was created by an awesome young lady named Yarate that mentors you in what's needed to create a total fresh and raw food program, or at whatever level you're ready to move to integrate more fresh and raw food into your life. There are menus, there are videos that she's created. She's just done an awesome job. Shopping list, 14 weeks of 3 meals a day. There are menus, and she's just done an awesome job of it. So I'd suggest you might want to take a look at that, and you can begin that pretty much immediately if you'd like to take your work to the next level. So there are my thoughts. And Miss Jeannie, where do we go from here?
Well, that's the end of her letter, and we still have no hands up and no questions in the chat room. So,
well, we've still got about a half an hour to interact and carry forward that conversation. So if you're out there in listener land, how can we support you? What's on your mind? Where are you at in your process work? If you're involved in the intensive that we're currently doing, how is that intensive going for you? Are you coming across any additional questions, refinements that are needed in any of the worksheets? The Codependence to Interdependence Intensive, we do several different workshops. We do Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That's focused in the forgiveness process and the reality management worksheet. We do the Healing Through Relationships workshop, and there is a worksheet that comes with the Healing Through Relationships and a specific tool called My Commitment. That's part of that workshop. Then we're going to move into communication. Did you hear what I think I said? And codependence to interdependence, each with their own instructions and tools. So all of that is part of that 14-week intensive that we're in the process of doing and getting ready to package and make available as a separate self-study course. So we're here to support you if you want to take advantage of any of that and move it forward. And if there are any refinements needed as you're using those tools, if you've been using the codependence to interdependence intensive worksheet, that specific codependence, we had created an extra session on Sunday afternoon, and I had announced it kind of spontaneously at the end of last Wednesday's class because I have been working on it, had created a new Power Person worksheet, and it took me a little longer to present it than I thought it was going to, so we created an extra class for Sunday, and when I did that, I kind of did it just last Wednesday evening spontaneously and wasn't thinking about the fact that this was Easter Sunday coming up. And so the fact that, Easter was going on for most people, we decided to put that on hold. So we're going to cover the second half of the new Power Person worksheet on Wednesday evening, and then together we'll determine a time where we're going to add in an extra bonus class. Of course, that extra bonus class will become part of the course for future participants, and so we'll be rolling forward with those tools. And if you're out there in listener land and you're using any of those tools in the intensive, what's on your mind? How can we support you? I know we've had several people who did the first intensive who are participating, having done the first codependence to interdependence communication practical intensive online. We didn't know when we did that we were going to be inviting people to do it again and again and again and again any time that we do it live. And so if you're out there in listener land and we're in that first intensive, I know several people have called in and spoken about how impactful it's been to go through the course the second time. And I promise that those who decide to watch those videos third, fourth, fifth, or 10th time, each time there'll be whole new pieces of the puzzle, whole new depths of understanding. Now, if you've been listening to the show since the beginning of the year, I've been reading from the book, and you'll notice that I can easily spend 15 or 20 minutes on just a paragraph or two from the book as I recognize new levels of insight that, things that I would have been writing in the book back when I wrote the book originally, if I'd known them, but brain cells that I've built and things that I've learned since then. And I'm really realizing on a whole new level the importance of having the brain cells to recognize what's happening. If I develop a new device that looks like nothing you've ever seen before, and I put it in front of you and I say, "What is this?" You're going to look at it and go, I don't know. I don't have any brain cells for that. But as I begin to teach you about that device, you develop the brain cells and you see the utility of it. But let's say the device has 10 different aspects of use, and I teach you or give you the brain cells for one aspect of it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are not going to be available to you unless you have the brain cells to recognize it. And what I'm really appreciating on a whole new level, especially as we're going through this intensive a second time, is just having the brain cells to recognize what's happening in the subtle aspects of this work is such an important piece of living life truly as a human being, truly as the presence of love. We live in a world that has this excuse language that they use, especially when they flub it, when they do something that's off base, and they'll say, "Well, after all, I'm only human." It's like, no, excuse me, that's not true. Let's establish the truth. A human being is the conscious, active presence of love. You're never only just a human. If you have discovered and are living out of your human life, then you know that you are this awesome, active presence of love. And when you do something untoward, really needs to be saying in those circumstances is, well, that's my non-human self. That's the part of me that is disconnected from and functions without the presence of love. The atrocities of the world, we've heard it said, well, those human atrocities. No, they're not. Every atrocity that's ever been committed is non-human. There is no human life. There is not the presence of active love in those behaviors that we say are non-human or inhumane. And so we're looking to educate, the same way that we're working to educate people that forgiveness is a tool for going inside of your mind and removing what never belonged. We're here to educate you that human means that you live in and as the active presence of love. Those who have lost contact, those who've gotten lost in a mind based in hostility or fear, are not human. They have what looks like a human form. Yes, I agree. But strictly speaking, until one is functioning out of and as love, there is not the expression of human life. Quite literally, is non-human. And what we are looking to do is to restore the direct experience of conscious, active, present love, literally to every mind, heart, and being on the earth. That's why we're here with these tools. That's why we've traveled the globe far and wide. Up until 2 years ago, Jeannie and I would complete an intensive at Heartland, usually late August, early September, get in our van and get on the road. And we wouldn't get back home until the following June, sometimes July, for the next round of intensives. And all that time that we were on the road, we would go wherever on the face of the earth we were invited. We would pay our own expenses, and our workshops were free. Well, that's kind of changed now. Jeannie's dad got to the point where he couldn't live on his own, and we were not willing to see him put in a nursing home. So we decided to move here to Bristol, Virginia. Jeannie's dad had been in his home for 50 years and wasn't about to leave, so we moved in with him to make sure he was taken care of and could, stay in his home. And at about the same time that happened, we had this delightful creature, Ari Rain, who entered our world as a granddaughter. And, at pretty much at least 3 days a week, we get to be with and take care of Ari Rain, which is just, we have this awesome set of bookends. Jeannie's dad at 88 and Ari Rain at 29 months. And we are so blessed. And Jeannie tells us that we've got a hand up, so let's say hello to our caller. We've got about 18 minutes.
We actually have two hands. The first one is 610. I believe this is Miss Susan. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, both of you.
Hey, welcome, young lady. Happy belated Easter.
Okay.
Great, let's go for it.
Price. Well, I feel very dull today. I had a big dish of ice cream yesterday, and it's one of my 50 favorite things. I'm trying to find 50 favorite things. And I realized some of those favorite things are not going to be healthy for us. So anyway, that's a whole other category of discussion. But,
we have found a sugar-free, I believe it's stevia sweetened. It may have some other natural sweeteners in it, but totally sugar-free ice cream that we found two flavors so far that we really enjoy that's one's vanilla, one's butter pecan, depending what part of the country you're from. And they're totally, completely sugar-free. They taste awesome, creamy, really excellent, and no dairy, no sugar, pretty decent ingredients. So, you can enjoy that and not have to feel like you've cheated on yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Or
nice
get that hangover from cow pus or whatever, and sugar.
I know. Between the sugar and the cow pus, Michael, I mean, really, you've sort of ruined ice cream from us. Whenever Tim pours milk on his blueberries, he says, I'm having some cow pus.
Well, there's another creamer out there that we get. We actually buy it on Amazon. There's a non-dairy creamer called Nut Pods that are better than any milk I've ever tasted. And we actually
we have a store nearby that makes a pretty nice natural apple pie. It does have some sugar in it, but not a whole lot. It's mostly just real apples. And we pour this Nut Pods French vanilla cream on this apple pie. That reminds me, we do have one up in the freezer that we need to pull out for tonight for dessert. So, you can do that without having to compromise. And it's kind of interesting that we live in a world where we're the only creature that eats from the teat of another animal. I mean, there is an animal that after maturity eats from the breast of its own breed, let alone from the breast of a different breed. It's kind of interesting how we've been, cajoled into that. But anyway, there are some great alternatives today, fortunately.
Nut, spell the pause,
Nut Pods.
C-A-W.
N-U-T, 2 words, N-U-T-P-O-D-S, Nut Pods.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Well,
it is.
This Power Person worksheet is so beyond.
Is it stirring things for you?
Absolutely, and I've
Sweet.
even not done worksheets for 2 days because I spend my morning thing doing this. But it's tempting to get discouraged because what I realize is practically my whole way of presenting myself is learned from my power people, whether they were acting as power people or not. But I wonder,
what an
is there
inspiring thing to learn?
Oh, God,
how awesome is that to realize that perhaps most of my life has been run from the unconsciousness of my past generations, and now I get to wake up from that and function fully as the presence of love as a human being. How awesome is that? Of course, I could take that with my thoughts in different directions, but
I know one could.
That would probably just be replicating something my power person would do instead of functioning as a conscious human being.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, what are all the options here? Not that everything was bad, and I don't need to take that anywhere right now, but I do have a specific question. They say that Jesus appeared to those who loved him. And I'm thinking, well, Jesus isn't in the flesh right now, and so those who loved him then, and those of us who are trying to learn to love him now, I wouldn't say I love him. I would say I admire him, honor him, look up to him, use him as my mentor and my model, and I have very rich thoughts of appreciation for him, but to love him, I don't know if I do.
Well, my offering is it's not even possible to love him. It's not possible to love yourself. It's not possible to love your children or your parents or your neighbors or anybody else. That's all a great fraud. Either love is a verb or it's a noun. If it's a verb, then we can do it. But if it's not a verb, and you of course have been through the drill with the question of hold a newborn, tap into the essence of the newborn, and everybody basically describes the essence of the newborn using some word that reflects the presence of love, and then ask yourself the question, is the newborn loving me or is the newborn love? If the newborn is love, then it's a reflection of the fact that I too am love, and so if I'm going to instruct my mind properly to produce a result, and basically the mind is a goal-oriented machine, then I'm going to have to use accurate definitions of the words that I'm using in order to get my mind to produce the result. So I would not suggest that you even put the least bit of effort into loving yourself or your neighbor or your husband or your kids or Yeshua, but rather to put the effort into uncovering any form of hostility or fear that gets in the way of you experiencing yourself as the presence of love and being that presence when you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, children, self, or anyone else. then you've arrived at a whole new place.
Okay. All right. Now, I have another question. It's a quick one, I think. Jesus, when he was on the cross saying, Eloi, Eloi, he was quoting Psalm 22, I think was written in the original. It was Hebrew originally, and he's quoting it, but quoting it in Aramaic. I wonder how that all fits in with your Aramaic new understanding, because certainly in Psalm 22, whoever wrote it sounded as if he felt abandoned by God. Now, here's Jesus saying it on the cross, and there is another meaning of, wow, so this is what it was all about.
Well,
can you say something
my
about
offering
that?
My offering would be that I would suspect that Yeshua repeating it from there. First of all, I wouldn't agree that it was originally written in Hebrew. It was originally thought, spoken, and written in Aramaic. The first time it was expressed, and then when Yeshua rededicated those words, and I would offer, my understanding would be that the meaning has not changed from the first time it was expressed in the scriptures to when Yeshua used it, and it was a rediscovery of who I am and what my purpose is, and a deep appreciation for, to put it in the context of our conversation, what you had just said about, living out of your powered person dynamics. The moment that you really grok that, you familiar with the word grok?
No, I know you've mentioned it. I don't remember what you said.
Yeah. Well, the word grok comes from a book called Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. And it's about a guy who's born on Mars, and he comes to Earth. And, of course, he doesn't have the brain cells for Earthlings. I mean, talk about culture shock. It's a different world altogether.
Right.
And so each time this character comes across something he does not understand through the brain cells of his Mars upbringing, he withdraws inside of himself, and he totally energetically digests the experience that he's now having, which is nothing like anything he ever experienced on Mars. So in the context of the conversation that you brought this up, I would offer that as you move along, you're doing the Power Person worksheet, and all of a sudden it occurs to you that, oh my God, I've been just living out of these past dynamics, replicating these Power Person dynamics, and Eli, lama sabachthani. I was meant for this presence of love, for this expression of my original being, not to live out of my Power Person dynamics. You could very easily use that phrase in exactly the context Yeshua used it, exactly the context of that early scripture writer. It's like, oh, this is about something totally different than what I thought. And now I'm awakening to that which is totally different, and I get to live a whole different life that may not even resemble what I thought life was about. So I'd invite you to apply that understanding to yourself sitting, doing worksheet, and realizing how much of the past hostilities and fears and generational patterns it's time for you to throw away and to bring in a whole new expression of yourself as the presence of love, and realize that that's what you're here for. That's what we're all here for. So we could each use that phrase when we crucify the non-being self, when we dissolve, when we let loose of, when we shed the hostility and fear-based self and replace it with ourselves, the realization that, this is what we're here to do. It's not about that old generational dynamic, that old thing the world taught me. It's about being renewed in the presence of love at every instant of our lives. We're going to start living in a different world when we have that particular insight. And that, I believe, is an insight that is designed for each of us to replicate personally. This is what I'm here for. Got it. Does that leave you breathing?
Yeah, I've got to go back and read that psalm again, too. And anyway, I'm not prepared to have a further discussion. It would be more like an argument. And I hear you. I'd love to think it meant the other thing.
Yeah. So am I hearing you say that probably your power person dynamic would dictate that you argue and instead of try out a new piece of clothing here?
Possibly so, yes. It's just that the rest of the psalm is such a cry of anguish. What Jesus said was a short thing, but the rest of the psalm is...
Take a look at yourself doing that worksheet. And isn't it a cry of anguish? When you start looking at it, I've just been doing it. Isn't that really a cry of anguish? And then the moment where you go, I could be doing something different. I could have had a Rachma instead. There's the recovery from the anguish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like a mini replica.
Yeah.
And how deeply do you suppose your generations felt trapped and replicated that construct in their minds?
Mhm. Right.
And the Power Person worksheet in our Codependence Intensive is designed to liberate us from that trap and open to a whole new meaning of what it is to be a human being and to incarnate, to embody as the active presence of love. Think about the first time you held that newborn little girl that is now the daughter you're so proud of. And the presence of love that she is, that she was when she was born, and that she's working to re-embody fully today.
Yeah.
And if you observe her, did you watch her getting trapped in some of the generational dynamics and some of the games of the world as she walked away and bought into being separated from you? And is she doing the same process of undoing those patterns and returning to her roots as the presence of love? And doing it very gracefully. You've described several layers of the work she's been doing in doing that.
Yeah, she's been great. Thanks, Michael.
Honored and delighted, young lady. We are most appreciative of having you on our team and are delighted to be part of your team as well.
Thanks. I am too.
All right. Any other thoughts for you? We're down to about 3 minutes.
No. Go ahead and do that other person.
All right. Blessings.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Miss
808. I believe this is Miss Roma. You got on.
Hey there.
Aha, it is I.
Aloha.
Aloha. We're only 3 minutes. Let me just say that let us not forget that Jesus' body was literally dying. So any sound that would have come out of his mouth might have sounded like anguish, but that may have been the moment when he passed from reality to actuality.
I'd go with you on that.
Okay, and I need the main brand of the ice cream with stevia.
Oh, it is...
There's two, Coconut Bliss and Soy Delicious.
Oh, what was the second one?
Soy Delicious. Now, they have brands. They each have brands. Actually, Coconut Bliss does have some sugar in it. There are a couple of specific flavors that have no sugar in them at all in the Soy Delicious. And the two that we found so far are butter pecan and vanilla.
Okay, very good. Because I
So
find
delicious.
myself, I'm eating a lot of ice cream too, but it reminds me of the fact that when I first came into planet Earth in this lifetime, I was consuming a lot of dairy, if you would, and I was fed. I was never breastfed. So
these are both based in coconut milk, so pretty healthy.
Yeah, coconut grows right around my neighborhood.
There you go. Yes. Actually, you could probably make your own with the local coconuts. I would suspect that it might be a fairly easy thing to do with the easy access to fresh raw coconut that you've got.
One more thing I want to say before the time is up is that I had, oh my goodness, you know how there's an archetypal Christmas and an archetypal Easter energy?
Mm-hmm.
There are. I mean, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but
so
I have
definitely
experienced
the time for awakening.
Yes, and I have never experienced such an amazing Easter morning as I did yesterday. Oh my God!
Sweet.
And I'm not a traditional Christian. I was raised in an agnostic family environment, and my relationship with my sister, which for the last 30 years,
we're down to about 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
It was horrifically combative. She called me. We spoke for an hour and a half on Saturday.
Nice to let all that go. Okay.
Not one single moment of that
Have
happened.
a blessed one. All right. Bye-bye.